Hello, and welcome to Bear Necessities. My name is Bear, and today we're going to go over my initial thoughts for Phase 3 of Season of Discovery. Let's begin with leveling. Now that Nightmare Incursions have been nerfed, I really think leveling in Phase 3 is in a good spot. You have pretty much three options: questing, dungeon grinding, and Nightmare Incursions, so let's dive into each one. The new XP buff makes questing a bit better, but dungeon grinding and Nightmare Incursions seem to overall be better XP. However, the Nightmare Incursions and dungeons do require a group, so if you're waiting for your friends to get on, or just have some solo time, doing quests is a good way to fill the gap and increase your skills. Dungeon grinding. Now that the buff was increased to 75%, if you have a really good cleave group, slamming SM Cath into ZF is likely the fastest way of leveling. That's saying you have a really good group for this. If you don't, I'd probably recommend Nightmare Incursions. Nightmare Incursions were insane when the phase first came out, netting the highest experience and insane amounts of gold. Essentially, you and your group pick up some initial quests, finish those, and that snowballs into more quests that you can share, then that becomes an insane snowball of XP and gold. Even after the nerfs for this, they are probably still the fastest way to level if you have a ragtag group comp. Oh, also the rep for these nets you a decent set of level 50 gear that will quickly make you close to raid ready, and one of your runes, so you need to do these eventually anyways. Also, some classes like Feral Druid get insane consumes and enchants that are must-haves, so it really makes this an attractive way of leveling. Of the three options, you can see how Nightmare Incursions becomes the clear winner, and while I think the devs wanted to just offer some alternatives, the min-max community is quick in World of Warcraft, making this pretty much the de facto way to level from pretty much 25 to 50. I will say I've started to see more PvP happening around these incursions, which if you find a group of 50s griefing low to mid 40s groups, this may become less desirable in peak hours. Personally, I enjoy the Nightmare Incursions, definitely a shake-up from the mindless dungeon grinding. I do think that if you really want to have fun with it, I'd try to mix up dungeons, quests, and incursions while making sure to at least get honored with the Nightmare Incursion faction on your leveling journey. Let's move on to gathering and crafting. While the price on gatherable and crafting items is slowly declining, if you got in early, you definitely made a killing. Since I'm a skinner and leatherworker, the price of the things I could gather and craft have already plummeted in price, so I think I only made a little over 100 gold. Nightmare Incursions definitely took people away from the world pre-nerf, so the world was your oyster as a gatherer, but that started to normalize as people hit 50 and incursions are being nerfed. I'd recommend, if you haven't already started, at least get up to 250 in your crafting professions so that you can get your epic crafted items from the raid. Speaking of raids, let's talk about it. Sunken Temple, in my opinion, is way more fun than Phase 2's Gnomeregan for a number of reasons. First, as a melee, it doesn't feel like my damage is nerfed from boss to boss, and it seems like for each boss, melee and ranged each have important jobs, so one doesn't feel better or worse. For example, even on the second slime boss, range definitely have the damage advantage for the majority of the fight, but the melee had the important job of killing the items to slow down and stun the boss, allowing them to get in some damage while he's rooted. Secondly, when it comes to raid mechanics, I like things that are pretty simple. Killing adds, don't stand in the bad areas, managing tank swaps, rooting things, etc. These are all the type of mechanics I love. It really focuses on classes using their abilities to the max and playing well. I hated the button clicking in Gnomeregan or interacting with objects, it just wasn't as fun to me. Finally, while the tuning was pretty off during week 1, I think the fixes made will make the raid more manageable in terms of clear time, and the increase in raid drops seems to ensure people get gear while also making things a little bit more rare overall. It will definitely take a little bit longer to get full bis, but it incentivizes showing up every week to get those chase items for your class. And finally, before I wrap this up, I do love the new wild offering items. Doing princess runs or ZF runs to farm these offerings and get a few pre-bis or bis items along the way gives something extra to do in between raids. Oh, and the Blood Moon is still as bad as it was before in Phase 2. Farming my pre-bis two-hander has been painful due to the fact that lag is still relevant in STV during these events. I'd rather run Battlegrounds to get coins if that was an option, over the Zergy lagfest that is the Blood Moon. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed my video and thoughts on Phase 3, and I will see you later.